I don't know how you can, with a straight face, be against the Reds going and getting a Eugenio Suarez,
I
given
don't get it
the
either.
shortcomings the team.
But yes, there has been a little bit of that. Wow, this is absolutely laced down.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Red Sox Rundown. We've got three main topics to get into today, and while this past week has been relatively quiet on the surface, there are actually some really important nuggets that came out over the weekend that deserve a deeper conversation. The first topic we're going to talk about today is the lack of traction on an Eugenio Suarez signing. We finally got a concrete update on where things stand between Suarez and the Red Sox, and honestly, it tells us a lot more about the direction of this front office than it does about Suarez himself. Then, we're going to talk about Jarren Duran and the trade rumors surrounding him, specifically whether those rumors are finally starting to cool off after months of speculation. And finally, we're going to dive into what might be the most realistic solution left on the board. Isaac Paredes. Is he actually the answer? And more importantly, what should the Red Sox be willing or unwilling to give up to get him? But before we get into all of that, I want to start today's video with a quick question for you. Hall of Fame voting results came out today. Congratulations to Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones on being elected to the Hall of Fame. Two phenomenal players, two very deserving careers. But from a Red Sox perspective, the name I want to focus on is Dustin Pedroia. Pedroia saw almost a 10% jump in votes this year, climbing to 20.7%. Now, if you're unfamiliar with how Hall of Fame voting works, you need 75% to get in. That's a long way to go, but momentum matters. And if Pedroia keeps climbing at this pace, he could realistically be inducted within the next 5 to 6 years. So I'll ask you directly, do you think Dustin Pedroia should be in the Hall of Fame? Type Y for yes, if you think he belongs. Type N for no if you don't. I already know what most of you are going to say, and I agree. Pedroia absolutely should be a Hall of Famer. MVP, World Series champion, Gold Gloves. One of the toughest, smartest second basemen of his generation. Injuries robbed him of longevity, but not greatness. All right, let's get into the meat of today's video. No traction on Eugenio Suarez. We finally got an update today from Chris Cotillo, and it was short but extremely telling. Cotillo reported that as of this weekend, there is very little traction between the Red Sox and Eugenio Suarez. Someone followed up and asked whether that lack of traction referred to Suarez's market overall or just Boston's interest. Cotillo clarified, "It's the Red Sox." And honestly, that makes me feel better. I've said this repeatedly all off-season. Eugenio Suarez is the worst possible Alex Bregman replacement for this Red Sox team. Now, let me be clear. I have nothing against Suarez as a person. He seems like a good guy, a good teammate, and a respected veteran. But strictly from a baseball standpoint, his profile is the exact opposite of what this team should be targeting. If you look at his surface-level numbers from 2025, I get why people are tempted. Nearly 50 home runs and .824 OPS. Over 100 RBIs. A 126 OPS plus. On paper, that looks fantastic. If you stop there, you might say, Jack, what are you talking about? This guy rakes. But baseball isn't played on a stat sheet. It's played over 162 games, and fit matters. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Strikeouts. Suarez struck out 196 times in 2025. In 2024, it was 176. In 2023, it was 214, leading the league. In 2022, 196, also leading the league. In 2021, 171. That's not a trend, that's a profile. The Red Sox already strike out too much. This lineup already struggles mightily with runners in scoring position. Adding another near 200 strikeout bat does not fix that problem. It makes it worse. And then there's the defense. Suarez is not a good defender. He has never been a good defender. And at this stage of his career, he is actively hurting you in the field. The Red Sox, under Craig Breslow, have made it abundantly clear that run prevention and defense are priorities. That means pitching, yes, but also infield defense. So ask yourself this honestly. Why would a team that wants to prevent runs add a third baseman who strikes out constantly and grades poorly defensively? Yes, he'd hit balls off the green monster. Yes, he'd probably run into 45 to 50 homers. But at what cost? More strikeouts. More defensive miscues. More pressure on the pitching staff. That is not the direction this team should be going. There are simply better options, almost all of them via trade, but better options nonetheless. Ketel Marte is a better fit. Isaac Paredes is a better fit. Brendan Donovan is a better fit. Nico Harner is a better fit. Even internal options make more sense than committing real money to Eugenio Suarez. So I'll ask you directly. Play Craig Breslow for a moment. Type S if you would sign Eugenio Suarez. Type P if you would pass. I'm firmly typing P for pass. Jarren Duran. Is a trade still coming? Let's move on to Jarren Duran because we finally got some clarity here as well. Ken Rosenthal wrote a piece over the weekend that included a very interesting line involving the Kansas City Royals. According to Rosenthal, the Royals are increasingly unlikely to land either of the two hitters they've been pursuing in trades. Brendan Donovan of the Cardinals. Jarren Duran of the Red Sox. That matters. Because all offseason long we've heard rumors linking Duran to Kansas City. The idea was that the Royals desperately wanted a dynamic outfielder and that someone like Cole Ragans or Chris Bubik could potentially be part of a package. For a while, it really felt like Duran was going to be traded. But now, unless he's part of a bigger deal, specifically for Isaac Paredes, I think Jarren Duran is staying in Boston for 2026. And honestly, that's a good thing. Was Duran the All-Star Game MVP version we saw in 2024? No. But he was still really good. In 2025, hit over .250, .774 ops, 16 home runs, 84 RBIs, 118 ops plus. One of the league leaders in triples. That's a productive player. That's a valuable player. And yes, defensively, he's the odd man out when you look at the Red Sox outfield depth, but offensively, he's still a four-war type player. Keeping him is not a failure. In a perfect world, and this is important, in a perfect world, the Red Sox would keep all four of their outfielders. Jarren Duran, Roman Anthony, Cedin Rafaela, Wilyer, Abreu. All four would get consistent at-bats. Yoshida, being locked into the DH spot, is what's clogging everything up. The problem is Masataka Yoshida. If you could offload Yoshida, suddenly the entire outfield logjam disappears. One of those four guys can DH regularly, and everyone stays involved. That's the ideal scenario. Is it realistic? Probably not, but that doesn't mean it isn't the correct move. As things stand right now, though, it looks increasingly unlikely that Duran gets traded, unless he's part of a much bigger deal. And that brings us to Isaac Paredes. Is Isaac Paredes the answer? At this point, this feels like the inevitable landing spot of the offseason conversation. We got an update from Chandler Rome, who covers the Astros, and here's the key takeaway. There is nothing imminent between the Red Sox and Astros regarding Isaac Paredes. However, multiple teams, not just Boston, have inquired. Rome also made something very clear. What intrigues Houston most about Boston is their surplus of young outfielders. That's where this gets interesting. Rome specifically mentioned Jarren Duran and Wilyer Abreu as players the Astros would likely value. And between the two, Abreu might actually make more sense for them. He's cheaper. They know him well. He's younger. He's a Gold Glove caliber defender. Now, let's talk honestly about Paredes. In 2025, .809 ops caps, 20 home runs, 53 RBIs. He profiles extremely well at Fenway Park. His pull power will play beautifully off the green monster. From a pure fit perspective, it works. But here's the issue. Is Isaac Paredes worth Wilyer Abreu? I don't think so. Abreu is a two-time Gold Glove winner in his first 2 seasons. He has legitimate 40 home run upside. His ops has climbed every year, even as his batting average fluctuated. He owns a career 118 OPS plus. That's a really valuable player. Trading Abreu for Paredes feels like solving one problem by creating another. If the goal is to add power, Abreu already has it. If the goal is defense, Abreu already provides it. So why move him for someone who doesn't clearly exceed him in overall value? Duran makes slightly more sense, but even then it feels like an overpay unless additional pieces are coming back. And that's why this entire situation circles back to Yoshida. If you offload Yoshida, you don't have to trade either Duran or Abreu. If Yoshida stays, you're forced into making uncomfortable decisions. That's the mistake that stems from not re-signing Alex Bregman. Other teams know the Red Sox are desperate, and desperation kills leverage. So I'll ask you one final question today. Would you trade Wilyer Abreu for Isaac Paredes? Type T for trade. Type K for keep. Play GM1 last time. That's where we're going to end today's edition of the Red Sox Rundown. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are pushing hard for 10,000 subscribers by opening day, and we are closer than ever. Thank you all so much for watching, for commenting, and for supporting the channel. Have a great rest of your day, and until next time,